G'day everyone, welcome back to the Shortball Podcast, where we're here after a stacked weekend of footy. Queensland Cup, New South Wales Cup and Jersey Flegg finals were on this weekend. I was obviously out at the Jersey Flegg and New South Wales Cup finals. You would have gotten all the recap on that. If you're following the Shortball _ on Instagram, make sure you go follow me there on TikTok, etc. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go through all of the games from the weekend, review them. I'm going to start off with my team of the week. Then I'm going to go each game one by one, just give a quick sort of recap of how the game played out. And then I'm going to give a 3-2-1. So top player, like Dally M voting system. Might even come back to that at the end of the final series and sort of see how players stacked out and who sort of was the best player throughout the final series. So, without further mucking around, let's get straight into it with my reserve grade team of the week. Now, this was a mixture of Q Cup and New South Wales Cup players, obviously. So, we'll start off. Sonny Wabo from the PNG Hunters, Scott Galliano from the Sunshine Coast Falcons, and Brandon Niemeyer from the PNG Hunters were my wingers. Mainiah Waititi and Valence Tafade were my centres. Mainiah from the Raiders and Valence from the Dolphins. And Dane Laurie and Nephi Peru were my halves. Dane from the Panthers and Nephi from the Jets. And Josh Kerr, Jordan Grant up front. Judah Rimbu at the 9. Kerr and Grant. Kerr Dolphins, Grant Panthers, Rimbu Hunters. And Billy Burns, Allblix Toha from the Dolphins, and Burns from the Jets were my back rowers. Lachlan Hubner, my lock from the Central Queensland Capras. Then we got Jaden Beryl from the Jets as my 14. Kaius Fatili from the Sunshine Coast Falcons as my 15. Kurt Donahue from the Capras, 16. Max Bailey from the Dolphins was my 17. Now for Jersey Flegg, team of the week, my fullback Ty Cochrane from the Bulldogs. Nick Murphy and Ratu Rinakama were my wings. Murphy from the Panthers and Rinakama from the Bulldogs. Mike Gabriel from the Sharks, he was my centre. He had a superb performance. I thought he was particularly good defensively as well. But my other centre, Logan Owaki from the Knights. And then Riley Pollard, Cassius Tear were my halves. Now, Riley Pollard, I've put at 6. He did play 7 on the day, but I couldn't leave him out. So I've got him and Tear in me halves. Tear from the Bulldogs, Pollard from the Sharks. This man, I hadn't seen... Well, I had seen a fair bit of him, but I haven't seen him play like this before. Fami Toilalo from the Bulldogs, he was super. But we will get into that when I get to that game. Damon Marshall was my other front rower from the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs starting front row pairing. And that's a theme as well with my back row pairing. I've gone the Sharks boys, Dylan Coots and Max McCarthy. Jazz Jarvis, my hooker from the Sharks. Billy Phillips, the lock from the Panthers. Now on the bench, Ruben Moyle from the Bulldogs, Jacob Davis from the Knights, Sesefo Finau from the Doggies, and Sateni Tokamo from the Sharks rounds out my team of the week there. Now, the first game this weekend at Leichhardt Oval, it was the Warriors versus the Panthers, and I thought the Warriors just shot themselves in the foot in this one. They had what, in my opinion, was the stronger side on paper coming in. They've both got pretty strong sides here, but I just thought the Warriors were slightly better, and they've been performing better in New South Wales Cup this year. Like I thought coming into this, the Panthers had a couple of pretty disappointing games, especially that game against the Rabbitohs. I know they won 32-28 there, but the way that they just conceded try after try at the end, it was pretty poor. They got rolled through the middle a little bit, and they didn't really convert on their opportunities to really end the Rabbitohs there in that last game. So coming into this, I just thought Warriors were stronger, but you know, the Panthers were pretty clinical, and the Warriors just kept shooting themselves in the foot, error after error, penalty after penalty. And I've actually got the stats here. Completion rate 17 for 31 from the Warriors. That's just, it doesn't matter how good your team is. If you complete at 54%, you are not winning that game. And then even just discipline here. Like, I think the penalty count squared up a little bit towards the end, but penalties conceded 4-8. So, errors 14 from the Warriors. Like, it was just, it was a tough watch if you're a Warriors fan out there. They just, didn't show up, quite simply. So, it was disappointing from a Warriors perspective, but from the Panthers perspective, like, they didn't really convert in the first half. Like, it was only 8-0. When they had a lot of ball, and like, Warriors were abysmal in that first half. They sharpened up a little bit in the second half, but not by much. But the first half was horrible from them. But yeah, they just sort of got into the game. I thought Jordan Grant was super. I mentioned him before, my team of the week. Dane Laurie also really good. And it was a moment in the 50th minute where it was 8 points to 6, and I was sort of sitting there watching this game thinking, okay, Warriors have finally switched on. Ali Leotau has just gone over. It's only a 2-point difference. I think they should still come over the top of the Panthers. But Dane Laurie comes up with a super play, and that's the experience, the NRL experience coming in. He's a very skilled player. Whenever he comes to New South Wales Cup, he looks as class above, and that's what he did here. You probably would have had 3 or 4 tackle breaks in this one play. He's ended up with 10 tackle breaks for the game. He was their best player, and I think it was probably close with maybe like an Ayongi or a Jordan Grant, but I thought he was very good, Dane Laurie. 3-2-1 in this game. So after that, so he's obviously scored. The McLean boys have both gone in as well. That's gone out to 24-8. And from there, Panthers never looked like they were getting beaten. Now, 3-2-1 for this game. Dane Laurie was my 3 points, and I just sort of left it at that. Like, he was super in this one. And then my 2 points were Jordan Grant. He was in my team of the week as well. He was super. At front row. He looked really damaging, got through a heap of work, played 51 minutes, ran for about 136 metres, and 64 of those were post-contact, so he was super. And my 1 point from the Warriors, he didn't have the game on the stat sheet that I thought he might have, but Luke Hansen, he was probably the shining light from this Warriors side. Like, Makaya Tafua was pretty good. Ali Leotau had his moments. But in terms of the guy who was actually sort of making a difference and nearly brought them back into the game, it was Luke Hansen for mine. Had a really nice grubber kick in behind for, I believe it was the Leotau try. He nearly scored as well when the game was in the balance. I think late in the game, maybe 24-12, he sort of powered his way to the line and fell agonisingly short. But he was the one, I thought, from the Warriors. So there we go. Dane Laurie 3, Jordan Grant 2, and Luke Hansen gets my 1 point for that game. Next one from New South Wales Cup. Jets v Raiders. Jets ran away with this 38-16, and it was never close, really. It was 24-0 after about 40 minutes. It was 18-0 into the half, and they scored early through Chris Villa, who had an absolute blinder. Although just missed my team of the week behind his opposing man, Waiteri, and Valence Tafaro was super for the Dolphins, but he was very much in that conversation and just missed out. He ran for about 161 metres from 11 carries, which is a crazy effort. Scored 2 tries. That was gun from him. He scored the first try as well, which started the proceedings. Billy Burns, he was unreal. Scored 2 tries as well. Had some really top involvements. He actually ended up, he ended up with the most fantasy points, although you can't play New South Wales Cup fantasy. I wish that you could, but you can't. But yeah, 55 out of him, which is a solid effort, although I'm more of a super coach man myself. Yes, Jets run away with it early. Nephi Peru and Jaden Beryl were on one. Jaden Beryl had 2 try assists, both off kicks and both to Billy Burns. So that was a good little combo that they formed, sort of that short side kick. That's really popular in New South Wales Cup, I've found, where the dummy half just sort of feigns one way and then goes back to short and sort of links up with his back rower, centre or wing on that edge. So that was successful for them and made a little bit of a difference. But their forward pack was too big, too strong on the day. Tuku Hautapua and Braden Hamlin-Uele. Jordan Liu, I thought, had a good game. Billy McCoulius, he's always fun to watch. He didn't have an amazing game, but he comes in and he's entertaining. He had a try assist and a try disallowed from forward passes, so would have been good to see the big man get over for those. But and off the bench too, like their bench, I thought made a huge difference. Like Jordan Liu, as I mentioned before, Samuel Healy. I think he's a gun, Samuel Healy. He wasn't originally named in this side, but came in onto the bench late. I think he's got a really big future, and apparently he's gone and signed with the Warriors too, which I think is a good get from them, especially in the Warriors hooking ranks where Wade Egan is a little bit susceptible to injury, so he's good depth and good coverage for him. And Brad Fernley was good as well. Their big middles really got the job done, but especially that upfront pairing of Hamlin-Uele and Hautapua. From the Raiders' perspective, like they were never in it. Like they scored a couple tries in the second half, but like they never got close. It was the closest they sort of got was 30 points to 12, but it just wasn't inspiring from them. Mitch Henderson, I thought, had a pretty good game. And the shining light, I spoke about him in the preview. Manaia Waititi ran for 175 run meters, had about 7 tackle breaks, scored that try as well. He was in my team of the week, despite being in a pretty nasty loss. So solid from him. Owen Paddy, I thought, was solid as well. He found himself scoring, sort of off a little bit of a ricochet, but good performance from him off the bench. But yeah, it's overall disappointing from the Raiders, but they go again next week. It wasn't the be all and end all, unlike the Warriors, whose disappointing game meant the end of their season. 3-2-1 for this game. 3 points, I gave that to Jaden Beryl. He was my man of the match with those 2 try assists. He had a couple of really big hits. And yeah, he was instrumental in this game. Nephi Peru, he was in my team of the week as well. I had a couple of Jets in my team of the week this week, but Nephi Peru was my 2 points. And I was tossing up between Via Ila and Billy Burns for my 1 point, but I've got to give it to Billy Burns. They both scored 2 tries, but Billy Burns did a little bit more outside of that, I thought, to the eye. Statistically, I think they match up pretty well. I think Via Ila might have it stats wise, but some of his runs were sort of runaways as well. Like his second try was about a 60-meter run, which helps the stats. But yeah, Billy Burns was my 1 point. So Jaden Beryl, man of the match. Nephi Peru, Billy Burns, my 2 and my 1. For the Jersey Flegg, first game was the Panthers and the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs smacked them. 32 points to 6 was the final scoreline. They got off to a pretty quick start. Billy Phillips scored early in the second half, and it looked like the Panthers were sort of starting to get back into the game, but quickly put away. Cassius Tia had an absolute blinder. 4 try assists from him. Sort of 3 or 4. I gave him the 4th, but the 4th one was a bit more from Cochrane than it was from Cassius Tia, but I'll give it to him. And the statisticians are known to give a couple of those dodgy ones away. But obviously, because there's no stat sheet for this stuff, only the player stats right after the game, where they just show most run meters, most tackles, etc. But I've sort of had to do them myself with the try assists and tries and whatnot as I was watching the game. But Cassius Tia, he led this game around. Kicking game was superb, and it's just from the kickoff, he looked like he was on one. Him and Tiapa combined really well. I thought whenever they went left, they looked really good. Danny Gabriel, Geordie Mazzoni, I thought Danny Gabriel was good. Geordie Mazzoni went off with about 20 minutes to go, but he was good in his stint. Ratu Rinakama, he was in my team of the week, I believe. Yes, he was. He was good. Ty Cochrane, I mentioned him before. 2 tries. He lit it up in the second half. Nearly stole man of the match off Cassius Tia, but that's who I went with for that, which is on my Instagram if you were following that. Forward pack too good from the Bulldogs, and I said that in the preview. Jack Underhill didn't end up playing, but he was replaced by a fairly handy player in Fami Toilalo. So, and Jonathan Sewer didn't play either. There was a couple of guys that were originally named that didn't play, and just the guys that came in instead of them were super. Ruben Moorhill, quick shout out to him as well. He just led from the front in this one. His tackling, he super high energy. I don't know how many tackles he came up with. I'll try and see if he was the most tackles for them. No, he wasn't, but he would have had at least 30 tackles, and it was just, he would have had a few misses too, just from like sort of slipping off, but high energy defensively. He did come up with the try assist for that first try, which I thought was a slick bit of ball playing. So good performance there from the number 9. He was in my team of the week off the bench though, and I'll get to him, Chaz Jarvis in the Sharks game. I thought he was unreal. But yeah, solid all-round performance from the Bulldogs, and they just run away with it. Like, they were just way too good for the Panthers. From a Panthers perspective, a couple of disappointing performances, but on the positive sides, I thought Nick Murphy was fantastic. He found his way into my team of the week. He ran for 251 run meters, had a line break as well. He looked super. He looked like he was breaking tackles for fun. He's super strong for how small he is, like relatively for a winger. Other positive performances, Zach Lamont, I thought was good. He was the only hooker from Jersey Flegg not to make my team of the week, but he was close as well. Came up with a few huge shots. His service was good, had a try assist to Billy Phillips. So, yeah, he was solid as well. Good performance. And, yeah, Billy Phillips was the other one. Like, he was their best on ground. The Panthers had a heap of work defensively, and he had to, because the middle, they were sort of getting rolled through the middle, and he was sort of shoring that up as much as he could. Fonua Lamotu was good off the bench, come up with a couple of really nice offloads, powered through the Bulldogs' defence on a couple of occasions. But end of the day, they just weren't good enough, the Panthers and Bulldogs. Good thing this was an elimination game from their perspective. Bulldogs go through, they'll verse the Raiders next week, and Panthers get another chance, and they'll get to verse the Sharkies next week, which should be a good matchup. 3-2-1. Cassius Tia, 3. Already sort of revealed that. Half on accident, half not. But he was my 3. Fami Toilalo is my 2. He was super, I thought. I didn't really mention him as much when I was sort of doing the overview of that game. But 185 run meters, 33 tackles, absolutely insane effort. He just kept going. I just thought, I was watching him, and the way that he was playing, where it was just high energy, breaking off tackles, I just thought, surely this bloke's going to have a rest. Just did not stop the whole game, and testament to him. And I think he'll be key for the Bulldogs if he continues to play Flegg throughout the rest of this final series. I think he will be one of the keys. Him and Damon Marshall were superb, and he was the guy for them in that forward pack. My 1 point, I was tossing up for this one, Ty Cochrane or Billy Phillips, in a game that was this much of a demolition job, and with how good Ty Cochrane was in the second half in particular, he gets my 1 point. But Billy Phillips was quite close for me. So that was that game. Sharks Knights, the next one. This was one. It was such a confusing game to watch because the Knights, the whole time I was watching this game, similar to the Warriors game, I was thinking, okay, the Knights are going to click. They're going to come back. They're going to click. They're going to come back. It just never happened. They were down 16-0 at the half. Riley Pollard scored a stunning try to start that all off. In the corner, Chaz Jarvis went himself and sort of deceived the markers. Very close to the line, dived over to make it a quick 12-0 lead. Oh no, it was a quick 10-0 lead rather. First kick was missed. It was just the Sharks, testament to them, their defence absolutely super. And that's what sort of McCarthy and Coots got into my team of the week. Off the back of defence, I thought they were super. And they did really good jobs on 2 New South Wales Cup level and future first graders, in my opinion. Back rowers for the Knights in Celeste Leomoana and Jermaine McEwen. But yeah, just defensively, they were too good. The Knights didn't have any answers. Logan Awaki had a super game, despite the result. Had a couple of line breaks, scored a try, went really close to scoring one that would have made a big difference in the result. You got to about, say, 45, 50 minutes into this game, and it was 16 points to 6. It was very close to being an interesting game. Sharks were just defending their line set after set. And a kick got put through. Hami Loza come through, sort of a couple of fumbles from the Sharks. Hami Loza picks it up and scores and gets called offside. I thought that was a little bit of a dodgy call myself, and I watched the replay of it at the time. Very harsh call, and I'm not saying that's the reason that the Knights lost, but had he scored that, it's 16-12, and it is game on. It was about 10 minutes left to go, maybe 15 at most. So, game on if that try gets called. The Sharks, though, too good defensively overall. Like, holding that stacked of a Knights side to just 6 points is a super effort. So, my 3 points, this was so tough for me. Michael Gabriel was my man of the match. He had a nice try assist right at the end. He looked damaging. He looked their most likely whenever they sort of had an attacking raid. So he gets my 3 points in this one. Riley Pollard and Chaz Jarvis get my 2 and my 1. So Riley the 2, Chaz the 1. Now with Chaz, Riley Pollard, I've spoken a lot about him in the past. Absolute gun. But with Chaz Jarvis, I didn't see this performance coming. But he came out, tackled his ass off, great defensively, and service, slick. He done all the fundamentals really well for a hooker. So yeah, that's fantastic performance from him. Moving on to Host Plus Cup, Q Cup, Queensland Cup. Dolphins v Capras was the first game that was on last night. I didn't get to watch it live, but I watched the replay of it. Dolphins off a disappointing loss last week to the North Devils. It was a pretty big blowout score in the end, I'm pretty sure, but they came out here and started off on fire. Josh Kerr had a double within 10 minutes, the big bopper in the middle. Max Bailey scored a really nice try. Valence Tafade came up with a good play as well. He was sort of supporting Max Bailey, who got a good bounce off a stray kick and ended up going the distance. So it was good from him. Valence Tafade, huge performance. Josh Kerr, huge performance. They rushed out to a 24-0 lead. The Capras sort of feigned a comeback, got it back to sort of 24-12. Dolphins extended again. Then the Capras went bang bang, and it was 30-18 with not long to go. This is when I tuned in live after the New South Wales Cup game with the Jets and Raiders. I tuned in live with about 10 minutes to go. Dolphins looked on top from that point, and Valence Tafade scored a nice try at the end to put them away. Good performances from the Dolphins. Orblex Toha I thought was really good. I'm actually a big fan of him. I think he's about 24, 25, but he's been a really good find for the Dolphins this season. Been one of their best, in my opinion. Josh Kerr, when you got NRL level talent playing Q Cup, they're always going to go well. He was super. Those 2 tries really set the platform, and he ended up running for about 112 metres as well. So good performance from him. Valence Tafade, another sort of fringe NRL talent, but played well. The big bopper Val Meninga, as they were calling him on the commentary box, 176 run metres from out of just 13 runs. So great from him. Joshua James led them around. His kicking was really good, in my opinion. He was landing them on a dime, really, for most of that game. 364 kick metres, 1 dropout. Couple of great bombs that went up that put heaps of pressure on. So yeah, solid from him. Good all round from the Dolphins, really. Like there wasn't really a bad performance. Max Bailey, another one that deserves a shout out. Couple of those guys that I've mentioned were in my team of the week, so good from them. For the Capras, they sort of feigned a comeback, but they didn't look ever like they were going to win it. But their 2 standout performances I thought were Kurt Donahue and Lachlan Hubner. Absolute workhorses, those 2. Lachlan Hubner in particular, I think he's a good get from South. He hasn't been fantastic in first grade when he has gotten the opportunity for the Dolphins, but 241 run metres from 25 carries playing lock, and I think he had about 40 tackles or something like that. 36 tackles from him, so absolute workhorse, liked what he done. And then Kurt Donahue, 147 run metres in a similar vein, was just a workhorse. Like that's out playing the back row, and don't think he's a back rower really. 34 tackles as well. So great performances from those 2. But apart from that, like that's the end of their season now, and there could have been a couple of better options that they could have taken across the board. But Dolphins, I thought, coming in with a stronger side, and they proved that. Great performances all round from them. Thomas Casey, another one that deserves a shout out. His try assist to Max Bailey's try. Insane stuff from him. Came out, bumped off about 3 or 4 different tackles, and then found the offload, and Max Bailey ended up going over. 3-2-1 in that game. 3 points. I'll go to... I'll probably have to give the 3 points to Valence Tafade, 2 points to Josh Kerr, and my 1 point for that game is going to go to Lachlan Hubner. Great performances there, great game, 36-18 final score. Dolphins go through and will meet with the Pride, the minor premiers rather, the Northern Pride. Today's game, the Falcons and Hunters, watched this today, and it was an absolutely cracking game. The boys got real fired up. In this game, I was super impressed. Now, I haven't watched too much of the Hunters this year. I can only watch so much footy every week, but from the Hunters, Sonny Wabo and Judah Rimbu, they really need first grade contracts. I think Judah Rimbu was at the Dolphins for their preseason, their first ever preseason last year. But I think they mentioned in commentary that he's going to the Super League. He's got Man of Steel written all over him. He's been super this year. He's been their best whenever I've watched them. Same with Sonny Wabo as well. Like they both, whenever the big play was needed, those two came up with it. Judah Rimbu, really good ball running 9. Made plenty of tackles, 42 tackles as well. Great defensively. Put a few big shots on. He's really physical. Really like a Brandon Smith sort of hooker. And then Sonny Wabo, his stats don't read that impressively, but came up with some huge plays. He created an overlap early in the game, and I just thought, fuck, that was sharp. He just sort of skipped across, and they couldn't lay a finger on him, and then threw a good sort of cutout ball. Gave his centre and wingers a chance down that edge, created the sort of 3-on-2 overlap with that. And then he had a good play as well where he got out of the end goal. He was deep into it, and you thought, okay, this is going to be a forced dropout. Gets himself out. And I'm watching him, and it just looked like he's doing really good stuff. I think he's a really talented player, but he hasn't broken this game open yet, or he hasn't done something to really affect the outcome apart from these small things. And then those small things turn into a big play, and that big play was his try assist for, I believe it was Solo Wayne, or apologies for the pronunciation if it's wrong, but broke through a heap of tackles, got himself through, and then found a nice flick pass, and that ended it didn't end the game, but got the Hunters in front, and they just had all the momentum from there. Scored 3 quick ones to get away. Oh, they scored 2 quick ones, and they scored 1 at the end to sort of get away with that 24-10 win. But that broke the game open with that super play. And yeah, that made it 14-10 because it was 10 all about 50 minutes into this game, because first half the Hunters had to do so much defense, and credit to them, because they went through about 20 minutes of just absorbing attack. Zachariah Miles and Luke Polselli looked super for the Sunny Coast Falcons. Harrison McIndo, he looked like he was going to create something, but they just couldn't get over the line. Or at least legally anyway. They did get over the line at one point, but it was called back. Hunters, after just absorbing all of that pressure, went back down the other end, created an overlap. Brendan Nima scored in the corner. Just good footy that was. Some really entertaining plays in this game. The Hunters, Judah Rimbu, just one of his standard close to the line, bury over, you can't stop him. He had one of those moments, and then in the second half, it was young Tonamapia and Flynn Camilleri who both scored within 4 minutes for the Falcons and leveled the scoring 10-all, and the Falcons came into this the higher placed team. They got beat last week in a top 4 clash against the Pride. They got smacked 38-0. So they came into this game, I guess, the favourites. And when that happened, I just thought, okay, the Hunters have done so much work here. It'd be a shame, but it looks like the Falcons are going to come over the top of them. But like, the Hunters are a proper footy side, super entertaining to watch, and their defence was unreal. And I think last time they went to Sunny Coast, they got beat 66-8 or something like that. So that's obviously something that they really worked on. They dug deep. Another noteworthy performance, Elijah Roltinga. I think he ran for about 180 metres. Had a heap of tackle breaks, a try assist. So a great performance from him as well. He was in... he wasn't in my team of the week. I took him out last second for Valence Defade after I watched that replay. So he was close, though. He was super close. He had a superb performance. 3-2-1 for the Hunters. Straight away, Judah Rimbu, 3, Sunny Wabo, the 2. And my 1 point in this game is going to go to Elijah Roltinga. So all 3 points go to Hunters players. There was a couple of good performances from the Falcons, most notably sort of the halves, Polselli and Hunter. And then Zachariah Miles was good as well. Scott Galliano made my team of the week. Couple of noteworthy performances there. KS Fatili as well, but just those 3 PNG boys were super. So that's it. That's a lot of the games from the weekend. Next podcast I'll be doing will be previewing the National Schoolboys final between Palm Beach, Currumbin, and Patrician Brothers Blacktown. That'll only be a quick one. I'll be recording that tomorrow, probably come out Tuesday. And then I'm going to do, similar to last week, a reserve grade and Jersey Flegg finals preview. I will preview the Queensland Cup as well in that one. I didn't do it last week And it was already a long one. I spoke for 45 minutes to myself, which is always enjoyable. I'm just speaking to yourself to a camera for 45 minutes, but I'm going to add those 2 previews in. But yeah, make sure you follow all of my socials. Do whatever it is on Spotify, positive reviews and shit, and subscribe, like on YouTube, all that sort of good stuff. And I'll see you for the next one.